2016 was certainly a year I won't shed a tear for 2016. And I'm not talking especially about the cruel terrorist attacks in our countries, in Nice and in Brussels, or the fact of the election of Trump, even when Clinton had 2.5 million votes more. And I'm not talking about the year of Brexit, I'm coming back to that. No, I'm talking about what is happening also this morning, the ongoing slaughtering, massacre of women, of children in Syria, in Aleppo, and the incapacity of all of us and of the international community to do something about this. And I hope, Hans, that if we, as we always do in a good Congress, we make resolutions, that we can make an urgent resolution as liberals about that. And pointing the finger also on those who are in fact criminals. And I hope that they will be one day before court. So I hope, together with you, with everybody of you, that 2017 will be better. And I think that we liberals have to do everything what we can to make it better. And we have a lot of opportunities in 2017 because it's gonna be a year of elections in the four corners of the European Union. They started already in Britain a few days ago with enormous success in Richmond Park. And finally, I have a subject to discuss with Mr. David Davies. I'm going to ask him next time I see him, oh, Mr. Davies, can you explain me what happens in Richmond Park? That's my first question in the next meeting. But it will not only be in Britain, there will be elections everywhere. There will be elections in Spain, certainly, because there are always elections, as we know. And I wish Albert Rivera a lot of success in the next one. I don't know when, but it shall certainly come. I wish us all a lot of success in France, because they have to elect a new presidency. Since yesterday, we know there is a vacancy there. They need somebody. I wish us enormous success also to our Czech friends, to ANO. They have to elect a new parliament this year. They got already a landslide victory in the regional elections, and I am pretty sure that with you, André, we're gonna have the 8th Prime Minister in the next European Council. Absolutely. There are gonna be elections, and I am very pleased with that, in Holland, in the Netherlands. Or both parties first competing and then hopefully coming together in a common government. Should be a fine thing for the group. And there will be elections also in Germany, dear friends, with Christian Lindner and the FDP fighting their way back. And I must say, and I think that we have to underline this in this Congress, they are doing that in the right way, not imitating populism, what is so easy to do, but defending our core values and our liberal principles. But we have unfortunately to recognize that it's not only in Germany that populists are on the rise. It's also the case in a number of other countries. The case in the Netherlands, we have Wilders there. In the UK, Farage, even when he will be sent now, I think, to Washington, if I have understood it well, so that's already a problem solved. In France, with Marine Le Pen, of course, also here. Let's say it in Poland with Kaczynski. Here in Poland, it's good, in fact, because you can already see, Petru, what it means to have populists and nationalists in office. Everybody should come here to Poland to see what their capabilities and their capacities are. They promise change and they deliver change. Their name, they call themselves law and order. And what they really do is undermine law and order in this country. What they do is they remove the checks and balances. They are paralyzing the Constitutional Court. They are putting the private media under pressure here in the country. They are controlling now public media. And I am always when I look at Kaczynski claims he hates Putin, but in fact he is a copy of him in the way who is doing it. So the latest proposals, I think, Sophie, we're going to deal with this in the Parliament in the next days, is to create a national office to better manage the civil society. Civil society? Managed by public authorities? What we are talking about? It's to control, naturally, civil society. And a latest, another proposal is to have a sort of public places where he will decide who can use them to make a demonstration or a manifestation. So I don't think that it's going to be the liberals who will be allowed in these places to demonstrate. So I can maybe say, Richard, fortunately, maybe it's not a bad thing that it is happening in Poland. And that it is not happening in Italy, in France, or in Germany. Because honestly, I don't know what would happen if the far right came in power in these countries. The lessons of history, the lessons of the 20th century are, and we all know it, not very reassuring about that when in these countries far-right parties, also in France, the Vichy regime, came in power. But Poland, on the contrary, I think, is safe. Why, Richard? Because it is a country where the citizens will never accept this, will always fight back, and will never surrender. Because let us repeat this in Warsaw. It is here that started the resistance against fascism. It's here that started the resistance against communism. And today, again, here starts in Warsaw the resistance against the new adepts of the so-called illiberal state, the champions of nationalism, but in fact, the cronies of populism. And why I'm saying that, Richard? Because on the 7th of May this year, in this city and in other cities of Poland, 250,000 citizens walked in the streets of Poland's cities, Nowoczesna, together with Kot. And it was the biggest manifestation since Solidarność. It was the biggest pro-European rally we have ever seen on European soil. And it was in fact a coalition of hope against a coalition of fear. The coalition of fear of Wilders, Farage, Le Pen, Kaczynski. It was a coalition, Richard, to take back our continent, to take back our continent out of the hands of those who want to destroy it, because that's their real agenda today. So, let's recognize it. A pro-European, a democratic, a liberal coalition is absolutely needed in the European Union. More needed than ever, certainly, and I have to talk about it, certainly after the Brexit, because, let's be honest, the inconvenient truth is that with Britain leaving, we're losing also a stronghold of liberalism. You can say what you want about the UK, but it has always been a country, a society with a strong belief in freedom, in free trade, in free markets, in free people, in free movement. Maybe we have to repeat that once again. So it is not a good thing. Not for Britain and not for Europe what is happening. And I regret it. But at the same time, that's politics. We have to accept it. The people have spoken. We have to move forward. We have to make the best of it. And in my opinion, that's my message of today to this Congress, the best of it, that means also not only a new relationship with the UK, but also a new definition of the European Union. I know, and I do it again, I'm often criticized because I speak about institutional reform, and I personally naturally feel that it is not justified, that criticism. But the big problem Europe is facing today, if you want it or not, is in fact political. We have the brains, we have the people, we have the young generations to make it. We have a political problem for the moment in Europe. Europe is in crisis dear friends, let us be very honest with each other, because we are always acting too little, too late. Financial crisis, economic fallout, refugees, migrants, geopolitical weakness. And why we are always acting too little and too late? Because Europe is today not a vibrant democracy, but a paralyzed vetocracy. And that's not a democracy. And it's not enough, and it's enough today. It's enough today that one country, one teeny coalition party in one country says no to prevent anything from happening, to block whatever progress. And certainly, Richard, I don't need to explain that here in Poland, in the city of Warsaw, what happens when vetoes take over the political system. It's meant the end of the Polish Commonwealth in the 18th century, and your country was divided between three neighbors. I heard a lot of complaining about the European Union. And let's face these critics towards the European Union, that it is hollowing out our national sovereignty, that it is becoming all-powerful, omnipresent. And I'm asking always myself, is that in the same Europe that I live? Because I don't see it. I think for the moment Europe is too weak. And certainly on the world level, on the world stage, too weak. Europe never has less influence than today. And let's face it, bureaucracy, yes. Too much regulations, maybe. But the European budget of 1% of the European GDP, of which the lion's share returns to the member states. So in fact, the reality is that only 0.14% of the European GDP is left for European policies. 0.14%. What we are talking about. And in top, we don't have a real border and coast guard to protect our outside borders. We don't have a European intelligence and investigation agency that can fight cross-border crimes and terrorism, because many other nation states say, no, that's not necessary. Coordination is enough, as we have seen the last years. We don't have a full banking union, nor a treasury that is able to support the euro and to do what is absolutely necessary to clean up our banks. Our banks are not cleaned up. We're going to see it next week with the next problem with Italian financial institutions. So nothing of all this exists. Welcome in the European superstate. Let's be honest, it's not even a state, and it's certainly not super. That's clear. So instead, I think instead of complaining about a non-existing European superstate, I complain about something else, Kleinstaaterei in Europa. And I use the word in German on purpose to emphasize that in today's world, even Germany is a small country. In 2050, it will not even part of the G8. Only Europe, dear friends, in the world of tomorrow can and will survive. It's our only chance for the future. And we need to do that out of conviction. A little bit, against the stream, but we like that as liberals, to go against the stream, against what is the common denominator, as we call it. To those who want less Europe, to those who want more Europe, I say always, what we want is a different Europe. What we want is another Europe, a Europe of the citizens that is effective, and not a weak confederation that costs money but doesn't deliver. And certainly not, and that will be my final message, certainly not a Europe mismanaged, because that is the source also of populism and nationalism in Europe. A Europe mismanaged by two big old parties, an unholy alliance between conservatives and socialists. A Europe far too long of backroom deals and mandates without a vision on a project for the future. And it is not only in Europe, in Germany, Angelica, in Austria, you're the typical example of it, not Neos naturally, yeah, I mean the actual coalition. In Italy, don't underestimate, the referendum of this weekend is a referendum about that, a deal between Mr. Renzi and Berlusconi, between the two old, no, a young crocodile and an old crocodile. How was that, Matthew? So we want, and I finish with this, I conclude with this, a reform, a modern, an effective, a fully democratic European Union, a Europe for and with a future. And I can tell you, we're going to start in our own house, in the Parliament, in the cradle of the European democracy and the European citizenship, and we're going to break there the unholy alliance and replace it with a broad pro-European coalition that also delivers in the European Parliament and in the European institutions. That is our mission, that is our vocation, that's our duty. Je dirais, en marche, avanti, forward. Thank you.